All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on the internet. We're going to look at the actual blueprint that every single website is built on, and we're starting with the absolute foundation, HTML. You ready? Let's go. I mean, really, have you ever landed on a web page and just thought, what am I actually looking at? How does a browser take a bunch of what looks like gibberish and turn it into this interactive thing I'm using? Well, that whole journey starts with 3 key pieces of technology. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think about building a house. First, you need the frame, right? The walls, the floors, the roof, the basic structure. That, my friends, is HTML. Then, you want to make it look good. You pick out paint colors, furniture, you add some style. That's CSS. And finally, you make it functional. You install the electricity, the plumbing, so you can actually flip a switch and have the lights turn on. That part is JavaScript. Today, we are all about that first step, building a solid structure with HTML.
So, if we're going to be builders, we need to learn the language of the blueprint. And trust me, it's way simpler than it sounds. It all boils down to one simple, powerful idea. And that idea is the tag. Just imagine your web page is a big storage closet, and HTML tags are the labels in all the boxes. You've got a box labeled photos, another for important titles, another for regular text. Each tag tells the browser exactly what kind of content it's holding. And most of them come in pairs. An opening tag, and then a closing tag with a little / to say, we're done here.
Now, every single web page out there, I don't care how complicated it looks, starts with this basic skeleton. This is the absolute bare minimum that a browser needs to go, aha, I'm looking at a web page. Think of it as the foundation and frame of our house before we even thought about rooms. Okay, so this skeleton is split into 2 main sections. First, you've got the head. This is kind of like the mission control center. It holds all the behind-the-scenes information, stuff you don't actually see on the page, like the title that shows up in your browser tab. Then you have the body, and this is where the magic happens. Everything you can actually see, all the text, the images, the links, all of it lives inside the body tag. So we've got our empty structure. It's time to actually start building out the rooms and putting some furniture inside. Let's get into the most common tags you're going to use to make your content pop.
First up, headings. Every page needs a main title, and for that, you use the H1 tag. It's for the most important heading on the page, period. You also get others, from H2 all the way down to H6, for subheadings. Now here's the key. You should use these to create a logical outline to show what's important, not just as a lazy way to make text bigger.
And boom, this shows you exactly how it works. You just wrap your text inside those H1 tags, and the browser instantly knows, okay, render this as a big, important title. See? Simple.
So what about just regular text? Well, for that, we have the paragraph tag, or the P tag. Anytime you've got a chunk of text, could be one sentence, could be a whole paragraph, you just wrap it up in P tags.
And you're probably seeing the pattern by now, right? We put our sentence inside the opening and closing P tags, and the browser displays it as a normal paragraph. You're totally getting the hang of this.
Okay, what actually makes the web a web? It's the links, the thing that connects everything together. We create those with the anchor tag, or A. But a link is pretty useless if it doesn't go anywhere. So it needs an extra piece of info called an attribute. In this case, it's the href, which basically tells the browser the address of where this link is supposed to go.
So we give it the destination with href, and then whatever text we put between the tags is what people can actually click on. And the browser automatically turns it into that classic blue underlined link we all recognize.
And finally, to add some visual punch, we use the image tag, IMG. Just like links, an image tag needs to know where to find the picture. So it uses an attribute called src, which stands for source. Now notice something kind of cool here. The image tag doesn't need a closing tag. It's a self-closing tag.
Okay, so we've added some content, thrown some stuff in there. But a really good website isn't just a jumble of text and images. It has a clean, professional layout. It needs clearly defined rooms. Let's see how we build those.
To create that clean structure, we use what are called semantic tags. It's a fancy word, but all it means is that the tags themselves describe what's inside them. You've got header for the stuff at the top, like your logo and navigation. You've got main for, well, the main content. And you've got footer for all the stuff at the bottom, like copyright info. Using these makes your code way easier to read, and bonus, it helps search engines understand your page too.
And this is pretty much how it all fits together. You can visualize your whole page as these 3 distinct blocks. The header at the top, the main content in the middle, and the footer at the bottom. It's just a clean, logical, and professional way to build a web page.
All right, you ready for a little taste of the pro level? Sometimes websites need to show more than just paragraphs. They need to show neatly organized data. And HTML has some awesome tools for that.
So, let's say you need to show a list of steps or a top 10 ranking. For that, you use an ordered list, or OL. You wrap the whole list in OL tags, and then each item in the list gets its own LI tag. And here's the cool part. The browser automatically puts the numbers in for you. You don't have to worry about it. And for any data that fits nicely into rows and columns, like a spreadsheet, you use the table tag. This lets you organize information super neatly, creating a grid that's just perfect for things like product comparisons or schedules.
And just like that, you've done it. You've gone from a blank page to a fully structured website. You now understand the fundamental blueprint that holds up the entire internet. That's a pretty big deal.
But hold on. Let's take a look at our house. I mean, it's strong, it's well-structured, but it's a little boring, isn't it? It's not going to win any design awards. So we've built the structure, but how do we give it personality? How do we make it beautiful?
And that is where our next tool, CSS, comes into play. It's the language of style, and it's what turns our plain HTML blueprint into a work of art. You've laid the foundation. Now it's time to become the interior designer. So keep building.